Hello and welcome back to Grim Survival. Today we're going to talk about my fire kit. Well, kind of a kit. It's not exactly a kit because if you're familiar with the 511 Rush 72 backpack, you'll know that it has like a million compartments on that thing. So I just dedicate one of the little areas for my fire kit. And I do have a mobile kit that I can pull out of there that has redundant gear in it. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But typically, in my fire kit, the first thing you're ever going to see is a Bic lighter. Just a standard, normal, everyday Bic lighter. And I always pull that stupid child safety ring off of that thing because it's just pointless. Pointless. And this one I always keep in my pocket. This is my EDC lighter. I don't smoke. I don't use it that often, so these last a long time. Except for I tend to lose them, like when I drop them. I lose them because I typically will forget that it's in my pocket because, like I said, I don't use it very often. Sometimes it ends up in the washer. Sometimes I set it on a random table wherever I dump my stuff at any particular time, and it disappears from there for some odd reason. It gets knocked off. A cat comes by, smacks it around. It just walks away. But that being said, you can buy these on eBay for about $45. You can get 50 of them. It's a good deal. In my opinion, it's a good deal. So Bic lighter, my number one go-to. In my primary fire compartment, I always keep another Bic lighter. I tend to try to keep the brighter colors, orange and whatnot, just because if I'm in a wooded area or anywhere in general and I set it down, bright color is easier to spot. So I don't typically have a black one in my bag, although if I do have a black one, I will just use that one for my pocket. In my pocket, like I said, I lose it so often, it changes regularly. The second most important thing probably to a fire kit, besides tinder, but a way to create fire would be a ferro rod, and this is one that I bought from I don't even remember where I got this one. I get a lot of them from Amazon. Sometimes I get them at random places that I go. But yeah, this one has the lanyard and the striker attached to it, which I leave the striker on there because it doesn't bother me, and it does actually work, believe it or not. So just the standard little ferro rod I keep with me. And ferro rods are great to have because, they work in wet conditions. They work anywhere if you know how to make something that this thing can light, or if you're carrying something that this thing can light. Char cloth, cotton balls with Vaseline or petroleum jelly. So that is probably my number one backup fire starter. And I did just remember I have a Zippo in my backpack currently. I carry a Zippo with extra Zippo fluid somewhere in there. I just remembered that it was in here, and now I got to figure out where I put it. Yeah. I keep redundant fire things in this backpack. I'll look for it later. It's not that important. But yeah, I keep several Bic lighters in this backpack, probably 4, and one in my pocket. I keep the ferro rod. I have an Altoids tin. There's no Altoids in here. I used to have my Altoid tin full of char cloth, but my char cloth went into another backpack that is being carried by another family member. In this particular Altoids tin, I have a candle. It is a 4-hour burn candle. I don't remember exactly the brand or anything. I bought a box of these off of Amazon that had something like 300-400 of these candles in them. This is like a 4-incher or something like that. It's a fairly small candle. It fits in an Altoids can, and candles are excellent for creating light, creating fire. If you had a small container of water and a way to hold this up, it would boil it after a while. Might take a while, but it can do the job. Candles are valuable tools. Do not leave them in your car in the summer. It will melt. I've had it happen. So, candle, Altoids tin, another fire lighting utensil I have, and I don't always keep this in my backpack. It comes in this pretty little tin, and yes, I do carry this all in my backpack sometimes, not always. But this is the good old-fashioned flint and steel. There is a piece of flint, and this is a steel. I bought this from Dave Canterbury's store. He has an actual store you can walk into in Indianapolis that I visited. It came with the tin, the ferro, or the striker, the flint. It came with all the, and it came with the wick. Because if you've ever seen any of Dave Canterbury's videos, he's, you know, he likes these wicks, so he gives you one. This is for a normal oil lamp, and it has a charred end, and you can char it yourself with a lighter, of course. But if you actually do it right, you can light this with the flint and steel. I have done it once. I'm not a big fan of the wick. Char cloth, way better. Even better than the wick is cotton balls full of soaked in petroleum jelly or Vaseline, and I keep those in this tin with this. Typically, I would have a can full of char cloth, which I'll probably make a video on how to do that. I do carry bandanas and cotton in my backpack for making char cloth fire lighting materials, but this is not a bushcraft channel, and this is not bushcraft tools. This is a survival channel, and we use survival tools. So another thing I keep in my backpack is more cotton balls. This is just a cotton ball, very much soaked in Vaseline or petroleum jelly. This is in one of the Seal-A-Meal containers. It is a vacuum sealed thing, food saver type thing, where it seals it. This keeps the petroleum on there. It doesn't dry out. It doesn't make a mess. Unlike the Ziplocs, you know, you got to go in there and you got to dig it out. It gets all over your fingers. It gets everywhere. With this, in a survival situation, you simply take a lighter and you light the edge of the plastic. If it's not that dire of an emergency, cut it open. Don't light the plastic. You know, do what you're going to do with the plastic. Preferably take it out of a wooded area and not leave it on the ground. But for me, survival, I'm lighting this whole thing on the corner. I have done it. It works. It works really well. And I carry several of these with me at all times, including a couple of redundancies of, you know, Ziplocs with more cotton and petroleum jelly in it. So those are my primary fire starting utensils and fire starters, which are the cotton balls. But I also carry a couple of these. These are fat wood. These are sticks of fat wood. Fat wood is obviously, just in case you don't know, pine pitch or pine resin. Comes from a pine tree. It's pine wood soaked in the pine resin. Pine resin, extremely flammable. Extremely. If you've ever heard of pine pitch, they used to use it back in medieval type times, dark ages and whatnot, to burn people alive. They would come upon the castle. They would spread this pine pitch out. They would light it on fire. When people started to walk on it, they would catch on fire. Okay, so that's my primary, and like these work really well. They're kind of thick in diameter, so what I typically do is I take my knife and I peel some of it off or pick it off. And you know, this, like I said, isn't bushcraft. In a bushcraft scenario, or if you have done something incredibly wrong and you are in the woods with nothing but a ferro rod and one of these and a knife, which in my opinion you've done something wrong, and unless you've done that on purpose, which I still don't see the reason for that. But like I said, this isn't bushcraft, this is survival. This is some of the wood from it, and this is the lighter. It is extremely flammable. It's like a candle or a match. It will burn for a long period of time, and it smells good too. In my opinion, it smells good. So what I typically do with this is I have a saw on my multi-tool, my Leatherman, and I'll cut a piece off, and then I'll split it with my knife. And one of those little pieces will, in dry conditions, light a fire really easily, really quickly. Works really well. I've never had a problem with it. They even work wet. So in a bushcraft scenario, if you only have a knife and a ferro rod, you can take your knife and you can shave shavings off of this and make like a little pile of powder. Or you could take your knife and make really, really thin strips or feather sticking type of scenario. And you can actually hit it with a ferro rod and typically light it in drier conditions. But I keep a few of these in my backpack at all times for starting fires. Another thing that I keep in my backpack, but only in the summertime, is this. This is one of those Maxpedition pocket organizers. I don't remember which size. This is a bigger one, I believe. In this, I typically keep this in my pocket, in one of my cargo pockets in the winter. In the summertime, I throw it in my backpack or keep it in my car, depending on if I always have my backpack, so it's usually in my backpack. I also carry a smaller day bag. Sometimes when I'm just running out to down the road, I don't want to grab my backpack out of anyway. And this will be in a day pack normally. Inside of this thing, I have more of the cotton balls in the seal and meal containers. I have another Ferro Rod. This one is bigger. It has the striker. It works. And typically, I'm not a big proponent of keeping Ferro Rods. I'm trying to get back in here. It's not going. Another thing I keep in here is a lighter. This is a Bic lighter, as usual. I have not popped that thing off of there. I should. I will get to it eventually. I don't particularly like this Bic lighter because, one, I don't know where I got it from. I have no clue where it came from. I don't remember ever buying it. I don't think it's very full, and I've been meaning to replace it, which I probably will just do that now and stick this one in there and remember to put the other one back in my backpack when I get back to my resupply. So one other reason I don't like this is because I dropped it in the toilet once. It was in my pocket. One of my pockets, I was emptying my pockets for laundry, and it flew out of a pocket and landed in the toilet and floated like this. So yeah, I grabbed it out of there. I did, and it still works. So yeah, a testament to Bic lighters. You can pee on them and they'll still work. But I will show you the other contents of this particular container later time. Basically, that is all of my fire starting gear. I do carry a tinder pouch, and I do tend to keep tinder in here, and I dropped it a little while ago. Yeah, here it is. Not always do I keep tinder in here, but this is a piece of cattail. This is the top off the cattail. It don't exactly fit in this thing unless I break it in half, and if I break it in half it makes a mess. So yeah, if you know what a cattail is. This pouch is just it used to be a duffel bag, an old military style duffel bag. It got cut, sewed, and velcroed to make a pouch. Inside of here I don't have anything right now except for pine resin. Big chunks of pine resin. I have a lot of it in here. A lot. Big, huge chunks. I got those off of an actual pine tree in Texas. I seen the tree had a wound on the side, and it had this stuff running all down the side. It was hard, dry, and ready to go. So I took my knife in and gathered a pouch full. Now this usually will have some more tinder in it, dried materials and whatnot to make a bird's nest if I have to use a Ferro Rod, which I typically will avoid such things. Like I said, this isn't bushcraft, this is survival. And when I go camping, I don't go camping to make things harder. I go camping to see how easy I can get things done, see how comfortable I can actually make myself in an outdoor scenario in something that I'm not used to. And when I go camping, I don't go to campsites. I don't see the need to. Well, you're going to a campsite to share your tent area with dozens of people. They bring their grills or propane. Yeah, it's not camping. Go real camping. Walk off the trail, walk off the path. That's what I do. So fat wood, pine resin, you can Google it. Pine resin has so many different applications. You can make glue, you can make, you can make bad things with it. You can burn pretty much anything with it. Well, I wouldn't say anything, but you know what I mean. You can start a fire with it easily if you know how to use it. But yeah, that's what it normally is. My Altoids tin with the candle in it normally has a bunch of char cloth. I do prefer charred cloth over other charred materials. I don't really like punk wood because cloth, in my opinion, is just less messy. Punk wood gets everywhere. It ends up being a big pile of dusty junk in your Altoids tin, and then you got to kind of light the pile of dusty junk and try to fish an ember out of it. Char cloth, you can just take a piece of the cloth. You can actually still tear it. You can light it. You can put it in your bird's nest. It works. It really does. One other thing I would have to say is skills and knowledge. If you don't know how to use any of this stuff, or you don't know how to start a fire, even with if you walk into the woods and you can't just start a fire with a Bic lighter, you have no business carrying a Ferro Rod to begin with. Learn skills. Learn how to make a bow drill set. I've done it. It is not easy. It is not an easy thing at all. I done it in a Texas drought, and it took a while. It was hard. So yeah, Bic lighter, #1 tool. If you don't have one, buy one. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on eBay. You can get them in bulk. You can get them anywhere. Go to Walmart. Go to a gas station. Go to a pharmacy. CVS. They carry them. Everybody has them. Really. Get one. So, yeah. But anyway, that's my basic fire kit. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching Grim Survival. I will try to make an outro one day that actually sounds professional, but probably not. Anyway, see ya.